So in the biotic factors which are affecting the patterns of distribution of organism, we will be discussing about competition. So what is competition? When two species are attempting to tap our resource in the same way, and when that resource is in the short supply, the two are said to be in competition. So there are two species, they are living in the same area and they need the same resource, just like food or the breeding ground or mates, anything that is present there and that is resource, they compete for that, and that is called competition. The weaker species may be excluded from the access to the resource entirely. So when there is competition, one species will win and other will lose. The winning species will take the control of that resource, while the losing species will leave that ecosystem. So then when a species is prevented from occupying an area by the presence of another species, in this way it is termed as competitive exclusion. So there is one species, it is actively using the resources at one ground, and other species is not able to compete that species. Eventually what will happen, that the other species will leave that area or it will went extinct. If that species is migrating, that means there was competition, and that competition excluded that species from that area, and this is called competitive exclusion. And this competitive exclusion is not easy to observe, this ousting of one species by another in nature. So we cannot see that, but we can see the evidence of it in the form of fossil record. So what are the examples? The barnacle species that occupy the rock seashores of the Western Europe and northeastern North America. So there are some barnacles which were having the similar, there is the case study of these barnacles, in which one type of barnacles were having the low tide zone, another one were able to compete not only the low tide but also the high tide zones, and they due to the competition, they excluded one type of barnacles from that area completely, and now then there are only one type of barnacles in that particular niche. Now there is the phenomena of reducing the competition as well. So an organism may find considerable advantage in avoiding the competition. So competition is an expensive process. So what they do with other species or with its member of one species, one organism or one species can evolve some strategies to avoid the competition. There are many different ways of reducing competition between organisms that have been evolved. So sometimes a species with similar food or space requirement exploit the same resource at different season of the year or even at different times of the day. So one species, it is using the breeding ground in the summer, another one species is using the breeding ground in winter. So there is no competition between the both, and same is the case for the feeding habits. Some species feed in the daytime, some species feed in the night time, even though their eating habits are the same, their niche is the same. Owls hunt at night and hawks and falcons are daytime hunters. And then there is the temporal separation. Temporal, wherever the word temporal comes, that means related to the time separation. So many bats are night active insectivores, avoiding the competition for prey with the insectivorous birds during the day, and also avoiding the predatory attention of day active hawks and falcon. And it is described as temporal separation. So they are, according to the time, they are changing their behavior. They are hunting in the night, not in the day, because in the daytime they will have the competition of the insectivorous birds. Not only this, but also they will have the more probability of being hunted by the hawks. And then there is the spatial separation. Each species must be adapted to live within a fixed set of physical conditions of its particular microhabitat. So spatial comes from the space. So a species is living in a particular space. If it is changing in a particular habitat, bird species have different preferences for the available feeding areas. So that means they are having different areas of, in their breeding habit. So one bird will have their breeding grounds at one island, another will have on another island, and they won't compete for those breeding places.